On today's show, is Fox fixed? Can small ball really work? And Kingstradamus stops by the set to give us his King of the Week. That's all coming up on the Royal Report.
Shout out Tanvir. What's up, Kings fans? Welcome back to Royal Rebounds TV and episode 3 of the Royal Report with Calvin and Barry, a Sacramento Kings sports talk show. Happy Friday, everyone. The Kings are looking good, 4-4 on the season. We have a game tonight against the Charlotte Hornets. Hope you're all excited. Make sure you hit that like button if you're a Kings fan. And if you'd like to join the Royal family, make sure you hit that subscribe button as well.
Thanks for joining us today, everyone, on this fabulous Friday. Let's get it started with some news from around the league. First and foremost, the Miami Heat are right back in contention and back at the top of the Eastern Conference. They're boasting a 6-2 record and have jumped out to a very, very hot start, boasting the league's number one offense and defense, scoring nearly 116 points a game and giving up just under 99. The Heat have gotten great contributions from Tyler Hero, Bam Adebayo, and newcomer Kyle Lowry, but don't forget about Jimmy Butler, who is quietly putting together an MVP season. Jimmy's averaging 25 points, 6 rebounds, 7 assists, and 3 steals a game. Barry, are the Heat primed to make another deep playoff run?
Well, they sure look like it so far. Tyler Hero is playing amazing off the bench. I think he's going to win Sixth Man of the Year this year. I think Jimmy Butler is also playing phenomenal. But don't look now. KYRIE Irving could be back sooner rather than later, as the mayor of New York is contemplating changing vaccine mandates in the city. This could affect KYRIE Irving, and he could be back with the Brooklyn Nets very, very soon.
In other news, trending downward are the Milwaukee Bucks. What's wrong with the defending champs? They just snapped a 3-game losing streak all at home after beating the Detroit Pistons on the road on Tuesday night, 117-89. Giannis has been fantastic, leading them in almost every statistical category, but the Bucks have gotten very little help outside of that. Drew Holiday's only played in 2 games so far this year due to an ankle injury, and Chris Middleton just ended up on the league's COVID safety protocol list. He could miss as many as 8 games before he returns. Barry, is it time to panic in Cream City?
I don't know. The Bucks are just like my fantasy basketball team. Giannis is killing it, and we're still losing games, unfortunately. In local news, the Stockton Kings make their season debut tonight against the Santa Cruz Warriors. We're excited for that. We're excited to see some of these young Kings that are playing for Stockton at the moment. We're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we'll jump right into your Sacramento Kings week cap.
Welcome back. It was another 500 week for the Sacramento Kings as they went 2-2 with both of their wins coming against the New Orleans Pelicans, one on the first game of the week and one on the last game of the week. They finally got their first win at Golden One Center, which was great to see. The other 2 games, a potential blowout loss to the Mavericks, which was salvaged by the bench as the Kings came out incredibly flat to start the game, and then another tough, tight game with the Utah Jazz as Mike Conley and Donovan Mitchell combined for 66 points to pull away late in the game. The bench was big this week again for the Kings. Sacramento got 35.5 points per game from their bench, largely in part to Buddy Hield and Davion Mitchell, who continues to get better and better every single game. Tyrese Haliburton had a fantastic week as well, and De'Aaron Fox potentially has snapped himself out of this skid with a good shooting performance and 19 points just last night in the second game of the week against the Pelicans.
Yeah, it's a tricky week for the Kings. 2-2 this week, making them 4-4 on the season. 3 road games. You look at it, they split the games right down the middle. 2-2, 2 wins, 2 losses. There's a lot of different ways you can look at this. You can say the Kings won 2 games against a horrible team in the New Orleans Pelicans that's tied for last place in the Western Conference, and they lost against 2 potential playoff teams in the Mavericks and the Jazz. However, you could also look at it saying the Jazz needed 66 points from Mitchell and Conley to barely edge out the Kings at the end of that fourth quarter. I'm seeing a lot of positives coming from these Sacramento Kings. Really big game by De'Aaron Fox this week. We had a big game by Buddy Hield. Davion Mitchell's had some great offensive and defensive output. And Richaun Holmes has played incredibly, other than getting ejected in the third quarter in that last game. I'm happy to see De'Aaron Fox is back. All good things coming for your Sacramento Kings. Great week of basketball. We're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we're going to jump into free throw percentage. Welcome back. It's been no secret that free throw percentage has been an Achilles heel for your Sacramento Kings, especially late in games. When the Kings are at the free throw line, it's not a sure thing, but it should be, right, Calvin? I would assume so, but lately the Kings have been making more and more shots from the line, shooting 82% from the free throw line in their last game and 96% in their first game against the Pelicans. A much needed improvement led by guys like De'Aaron Fox, who are finally starting to settle down at the free throw line.
Yeah, you hit it right on the head. The Kings have definitely picked it up at the foul line. When you look at their team individually, they've got a lot of guys who do shoot well from the free throw line, but for some reason they struggle, or they have struggled in the past as a team. Not only 82% from the foul line in their most recent game, but they shot 82% from the foul line for the whole week, going 75 of 91 as a team. Very, very encouraging. Harrison Barnes and Tyrese Haliburton were 9 of 10 and 7 of 8 at the foul line in their last game against New Orleans. And you mentioned it, the first time they played New Orleans this week, they were 24 of 25 as a team. So if this continues to build off this week for the Kings, that's going to save them a lot of trouble moving forward in the season, because you have to hit these free throws down the stretch late in games. It's part of the reason that'll help close games out for them, which has been another area of concern for Sacramento. All very, very encouraging, though, so far.
Yeah, when we come back, we're going to welcome Kingstradamus to the show. Everybody give a round of applause for Kingstradamus. Welcome back, everyone. This brings us to King Me. This is a topic from last year's show that we are bringing back, and we bring in the king himself, Kingstradamus, here to help us crown our King of the Week. What's up, Kingstradamus?
First of all, thank you very much, Barry and Calvin, for having me back on the show again. It's a pleasure to be here. Pretty simple to me this week. I didn't have to look very far into my crystal ball. Tyrese Haliburton is our King of the Week. This week alone, 16 points, 4 rebounds, 5.5 assists, 1.2 steals, and nearly 2 blocks per game. He played out of his mind, really picked it up when De'Aaron Fox was struggling, rather. I see him much more aggressive and comfortable. I think he really enjoys playing for a crowd as well. He looks much more vocal and emotional to me, and he's really stepping into that new role in the offense very well. So, King of the Week, Tyrese Haliburton, crown him.
Good pick, good pick. And if I can just bother you for one more question, or more of a prediction, can you give us a prediction on tonight's game against the Charlotte Hornets?
Absolutely. I see a Kings win. The Kings match up pretty well with this team. Charlotte has one of the better scoring offenses in the league, but they are dead last in points allowed per game. So look for this to be a high-scoring affair. The Kings are coming off a really good offensive game themselves. I predict 3 players to have 20 or more points in this game. Like I said, high-scoring. Kings are going to win 126-115, double-digit victory as they continue to get themselves right.
Thank you so much, Kingstradamus. We always love having you on the show. We'll see you again soon.
My pleasure.
Oh, you are a wise one, Kingstradamus, and you chose one of my favorite players in Tyrese Haliburton. I wish you could tell us when the new City Edition jerseys will be in the team store, but unfortunately, I don't think you even know that. So that brings us to our next topic, Calvin. Tyrese Haliburton, he He is the king of the week. Good pick. So a lot of Kings fans were very concerned about Tyrese early on in this season because he seemed to be very passive with the ball, wasn't being as aggressive as we had seen from him last season. I saw an interview with De'Aaron Fox a couple days ago where he said he had to sit down with Tyrese and he told him to, quote unquote, shoot the ball. Even if you're not open, if there's a shot, if you feel like you can make it, shoot the ball. I think we can all say that we've seen a much more aggressive Tyrese Haliburton on both ends of the floor recently. Coach Walton said he is very, very impressed with Tyrese's strides that he's made on the defensive end of the floor, capped off by a wonderful night from him on Wednesday. 4 steals, 2 blocks, 20 points, his best game of the season. Calvin, what are you liking that you're seeing out of Tyrese?
I'm liking exactly what you mentioned at the top there, and that's his aggressiveness. Just like De'Aaron Fox is having to maybe adjust to his new role, that's directly related to the fact that Tyrese is having a much more increased role in the offense. He's handling the ball more. He's the primary offensive initiator. Pick and roll with Richaun Holmes has been fantastic, and he's definitely gotten much more comfortable and much more aggressive, particularly late in games, which will be big for the Kings. As De'Aaron Fox continues to struggle shooting the ball, they need somebody who in the fourth quarter can go out there and be aggressive and get them a bucket. He had by far his best game of the season so far against the Pelicans, as you mentioned, and it just will continue to get better and better, I think, as the year goes on. His numbers look very much like they did last year. The three-point percentage is down from last year, but that is the result of a couple different things. Number one, he's taking fewer threes because he's initiating the offense more. He's being more of a facilitator. And in the pick and roll, he's driving more, getting into the basket. He's not playing off ball, which resulted in those wide open corner threes that we saw him knock down with a lot of ease. Now he's more hitting threes, or taking shots rather, off of his own dribble, creating his own shot, which is a new role for him, but I think he's blossoming into it very well.
Yeah, I'm liking everything I'm seeing from Tyrese. The only criticism I have is the turnovers are a little up this year. He's averaging 1.6 a game. That's almost half a turnover more than last season. I know he's handling the ball a little bit more, but cut down on those. I would love to see Tyrese win Most Improved Player this year. And not sure if it's possible, but I like what I'm seeing out of him so far. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back.
Welcome back. We have seen the Kings this year commit in full to a smaller lineup as the big man rotation has gotten very, very short on the bench. Just Alex Len, Tristan Thompson, and Richaun Holmes are really the only big men that see any minutes whatsoever for this team now, that is very guard heavy and led by Buddy Hield and Davion Mitchell off the bench. The question is, will it continue to give the Kings success? Will it work in the long run? And can they take this all the way into the playoffs? Barry, we've seen in the past teams deplore a smaller lineup, and it has given them recent success temporarily in the regular season, but they continue to come up short in the playoffs, having to make adjustments against bigger teams over the course of a 7-game series. It usually has not prevailed. I think the question is, what do you define as success for the Sacramento Kings? This is a team that hasn't made the playoffs in 15 years. So if, in my opinion, if they can take this small ball lineup and get a playoff berth, that is a success in its own right. Winning a playoff series will be a whole nother ball game and a whole nother situation, whether they use that small lineup or not.
Yeah, and I think actually what is small ball is actually a relevant question also, and what qualifies as small ball. We've seen the death of the NBA center over the past 10 seasons, including the center being removed from the All-Star game. I've seen a lot of success from quote-unquote small ball teams, but most of them seem to be led by a superstar or one of the top 10 players in the NBA. The Kings, unfortunately, do not have any of those players currently on the roster. It's yet to be seen whether one of them that's currently on the roster can become that guy, or if maybe they'll bring in a guy in free agency, which the Kings have not had much success doing so in the past. I do have to say, personally, I'm not a huge fan of the small ball lineup, but I like the GM that we brought in on this team. I like the guys that he's hired. They all seem to be wizards with analytics, and that seems to be the path they're following. So I'm just going to trust in them that they're making the right decisions. I know that small ball can get you to the playoffs, which the Kings have not been to for over 15 years. So if you set success at playoffs, I'm cool with that.
Yeah, I agree with that completely. And you're right about what you define as small ball. You know, it is. We have moved into a more positionless era in basketball, but that doesn't take away the fact that just because you don't have necessarily a defined position, you're not playing a bigger lineup. When you think about the teams that were in the NBA Finals last year, or even the year before that, the Bucks and the Lakers winning, the Hawks, the Nets, they all maybe don't have necessarily a traditional center or a traditional power forward, yet they play long, big athletic lineups. And those in a 7-game series in the postseason, I think, will hurt the Sacramento Kings if they continue to play the rotation that they've played thus far. I think in order to win a playoff series, you have to be more flexible. You have to have more of the length, more of the ability to switch and guard multiple positions, which these young players for the Kings can do. But again, it's all about adjustments in the playoffs and being able to take a situation from one game and spin it to the next game with a different set of players to throw a different look out there. I do agree with you, though. If the Kings make the playoffs this year, that to me is ultimately success no matter what lineup the Kings are playing.
We want to hear from you, so let us know down below in the comments whether you feel that small ball will be successful for the Sacramento Kings. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we are going to talk about De'Aaron Fox. Is he back?
Welcome back. De'Aaron Fox has discouraged many Sacramento Kings fans this year by not living up to the hype that he entered the year with, coming off nearly career highs in every category from last season. Fox did have a bounce-back game. It was nice to see him hitting wide-open shots, including his shots from outside the three-point arc against the New Orleans Pelicans. It's only one game, but it's a great building block. The question is, can he continue that pace for the Sacramento Kings to get back to the player that we all believe he is? Looking ahead, there's great opportunity for De'Aaron. The next 3 games are at home. After that, they have a very winnable 4-game road trip in which they'll take on San Antonio, Oklahoma City, Detroit, and Indiana. Out of all of their next 7 games, they get games against many teams that rank in the bottom half of the league in scoring defense. Charlotte is worst in the league. Indiana is ranked 26th. Oklahoma City is 20th, and San Antonio is 21st. This is a great opportunity for Fox to cure what's ailing him over the next couple of weeks, Barry.
Yeah, I'm happy to see good things coming from De'Aaron Fox. 19 points in the last game, only 1 turnover for him, which I thought was huge. You know, De'Aaron Fox has played well in both of these games against the Pelicans. 23 points in their first meeting this year. Unfortunately, he didn't shoot well in that game, shooting 1 for 7 from the three-point line. I wouldn't say that De'Aaron Fox is back yet, but he is definitely moving in the right direction. I think you are correct. These upcoming games will allow him to catch his stride, and we'll see Swipa running up and down the court and dunking on people in no time.
Yeah, we certainly hope so. When we come back, it's time to answer those questions. We'll ring the cowbell. Welcome back, everyone. It is time for cowbell questions here on the Royal Report. Thank you again for your submissions. You know the drill. If you'd like to have a question answered by Barry and myself on the show, please write it down in the comments section below this video. Hashtag it cowbell questions. And let's get our first one from the announcer.
Is Davion Mitchell ready for the starting lineup?
Well, the easy answer is yes. But I think the real question is the starting lineup ready for Davion Mitchell? And by that, I mean, is there enough room for him in this lineup? You already have 2 guards starting in De'Aaron Fox and Tyrese Haliburton. You have 2 wings starting, and then you have center in Richaun Holmes. The only guy that I would see being replaced out of the starting lineup is potentially Mo Harkless, but then you might be going too small considering Davion is only 6'1". Really happy with everything I've seen from Davion throughout this season. I think he is best suited coming off the bench at the moment.
Yeah, I wonder if this question is coming from those Kings fans who are starting to dogpile on De'Aaron Fox and suddenly want him traded. Yeah, the real question to me is, who would you start Davion Mitchell over currently? The big question mark for the Kings has been at the power forward position. Sometimes it's Maurice Harkless. Usually it is when he's healthy and ready to go. If they take Hark out of the game and put Davion Mitchell in there instead, that is a really small lineup to go with. It could be effective for them in spurts, but I don't think that it's effective in the long run. I also think the Kings bench has been the best part of this team all year long so far. So Davion is a really, really big piece of that. Him and Buddy Hield together are fantastic scoring off the bench. They give the Kings a huge advantage in which they're usually able to outscore the opposing bench by a lot of points. So I think for now, you keep Davion where he's at coming off the bench.
Next question.
Would you start Alex Len at the 4?
Would I start Alex Len at the 4? No, I probably wouldn't. I don't like the idea of playing Alex Len and Rashawn Holmes together at the same time. I think it limits what you're able to do offensively. Yes, Alex Len can hit threes, but I wouldn't really consider him to be a consistent outside shooter. So then you're going to a really old school NBA offense where you play 2 bigs in the post and 3 guys outside. We just don't see that very often anymore. There's not a lot of floor spacing. And for a team that likes to penetrate and drive as much as the Kings do, that really clogs up the paint. So I don't think it would work very well. Defensively, you limit yourself in terms of switching ability. That's one of the reasons why Maurice Harkless gets all the early minutes in the game and starts the game at the 4 spot, because he's able to guard so many different defenders, positions 1 through 4 pretty easily, and he gives the Kings a lot of flexibility from a team defense standpoint. Alex Len has done a great job when he's been asked to come in games. We've seen him block a lot of shots and be a force on the inside. But if he's asked to play alongside Rashawn Holmes, one of them is going to have to play too far away from the basket, both on offense and on defense.
Yeah, that's going to be a hard pass for me as well. I love what I've seen from Alex Len this season, but it just brings me back to the whole Davion Mitchell thing. Who's going to be coming off the bench if he's starting? I also feel like it's a horrible matchup defensively. He is not going to be able to keep up with a lot of these 4s around the league, and he's going to get way too tired, and we're just not going to have any centers coming off the bench. So that's a no for me as well. Next question.
Do you see Luke making it to the end of the season if he continues this 1-step forward and 2-step back routine?
Well, if Luke Walton continues to take 1 step forward and 2 steps backwards, I do see him getting fired before the end of the season. However, that's not currently how I see it. The Kings are sitting on 4-4 for the season. They're about a tenth of the way through, and I've seen some major improvements on both the offensive and the defensive end of the floor. So I do feel like Coach Walton will be with the Kings through the rest of the season. It's next season that you really have to worry about.
Yeah, I didn't really expect Luke Walton to make it this far into his tenure with the Sacramento Kings. I thought there were many opportunities where the Kings could have cut ties with him, and yet he's still here to this day. So it really just depends on how you define success for the Kings from a team standpoint, from a front office standpoint. I think they're going to remain at or a little bit better than 500 to go for the rest of the year. And that I don't think is enough to really get rid of Luke Walton this year. That being said, the expectations for the team get higher and higher every year that Coach Walton has been there. That's going to continue next season. Like you said, everyone wants the playoff drought to end this year. So I think barring some unforeseen situation where the Kings lose a ton of games, fall maybe 10 games below 500, that might be the only situation where Luke doesn't finish the season. Thank you very much for your submissions. That's all the time we have today for Cowbell questions. When we come back, Barry and I will wrap up the show and we'll look ahead to next week.
Welcome back. 4 games on the schedule this week. The Sacramento Kings take on the Charlotte Hornets this evening. Then they take on the Pacers, the Suns, and the Spurs later on in the week. I know you all are here to hear me make another prediction. I'm going to say 4-0. Again, this is my 3rd week predicting 4-0. Both weeks they went 2-2, so I'll be happy with 2-2, but I'm going for 4-0 again, Calvin.
Yeah, we're always going for 4-0, right? Because we love our Kings. But that being said, this is a really good opportunity here this week for the Kings. We talked about it a little bit earlier with their upcoming schedule. They get 3 out of these 4 games at home. They're coming off their best game of the season from a whole team's perspective. They held New Orleans under 100 points. Everybody scored. They shot well from the free throw line. De'Aaron Fox looked like himself again, and Tyrese Haliburton is playing really, really, really well. So the Kings have a really good opportunity ahead of them here. If they can come out of this week 3-1 or even 4-0 as they start that 4-game road trip the following week, it's going to be good times in Sacramento.
Yeah, the game tonight against Charlotte, the Kings match up great against this team. If they can lock up LaMelo Ball, make him create some turnovers, I think they have a good chance to win that game. As far as the Indiana game goes, I think Sabonis is going to be the key to that game. It's going to be locking down Sabonis, not letting him do too much and making the others beat you. The Kings already beat Phoenix once this season. I think that they could potentially do it again. And the Spurs are playing well as of late, but I have to take the Kings because I'm a Kings fan. Thanks again for watching, guys. We'll catch you all next week, and we'll catch you after the game tonight. But in the meantime, go Kings.
Go Kings.